You're listening to Danny DeHeck, aka the Crypto Ponzi Scheme Avenger. I earned that nickname by having a full-featured article in the New York Times, who published a story about my quest to name and shame anyone running a Ponzi scheme or a scam. I hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to Building Fortunes Radio. Make sure you check us out at buildingfortunesradio.com. Along with our marketing partners, we're here to help our PM Marketing Network Lead customers build their businesses and make the world a better place. At Building Fortunes, we know how much your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now on to our show with your host, Peter Mingils.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You're listening to us on Building Fortunes Radio. It's www.buildingfortunesradio.com. This is a special edition. We're here a little bit earlier than usual because Scott Johnson, this is his radio show, has a special guest. So I'm going to keep my introduction down so we can have as much time as we possibly can with this very special guest. But just as a quick intro, we've had Building Fortunes Radio for a long time. It's been since the tail end of 2012, beginning part of 2013. I'm that home-based business evangelist, pro-MLM when done right, anti-MLM when done wrong. And if you need that explained, you just listen to some of our shows and you'll be able to hear that. Well, one of the radio shows I was doing many years ago was with a gentleman named Roger Van Vlissingen, who's an anti-MLM guy, and he writes for a domain name called seekingalpha.com. They deal with publicly traded companies of all types, and he was writing some stuff up about Herbalife. And even though Vima was not and is not a publicly traded company, he was writing some stuff up about them. But I was calling Roger saying, hey, listen, you got some great stuff, be on our radio show. And he granted us that with a gentleman named E. Robert Smith, and you'll be able to hear those if you go back to Building Fortunes Radio. Well, Scott Johnson called me up after one of those radio interviews and said, you know, there's something a lot of these guys are not talking about. And I said, what's that, Scott? And he said, the Amway Tool Scam. And I thought I knew what he was referencing because I had been associated with Amway 3 separate times. And I, too, didn't call it a tool scam, but I thought it was a system scam because I knew a lot of people were making a lot of money on the books and the tapes and the functions, and they weren't really sharing that with the people. They were basically given the delusion that you could make money in this business, meaning Amway, based on what they were telling you to do, and you couldn't. Based on, the average person, it was almost impossible. You had to make money in part on the tools. So we started doing radio shows together. Again, I'm keeping this kind of brief. We've been doing these for years. Coming up to Labor Day, I think it's like 8 years, maybe 9. I don't know. I'm bad at dates like that. But sometimes we do the radio show ourselves. Sometimes we do it with a special guest, and this is a very special guest from another continent. But as a result of this, I'm going to kind of keep my introduction short and just say go back to buildingfortunesradio.com /Scott-Johnson if you want to hear this as well as the previous radio shows. And we're going to set up a guest page for this gentleman because you want to pay attention to him in the areas that he's an expert on for sure. So Scott Johnson, thanks for being here on your own radio show.
Hey, Peter, thanks for having me. Yeah, we do have a great guest this evening, or if you're where he is right now in New Zealand, this morning. And I'm really looking forward to this. I came across him just sort of looking through YouTube, doing my usual anti-MLM search, and I thought, oh, here's a nice, fresh voice, and who's criticizing, in my opinion, the right things versus all the drama that you see out there on YouTube and other social media, I assume. I don't go to other social media that much. But to your point, Peter, earlier with the introduction, the Amway Tool Scam, as I refer to it, is really these companies that are separate from Amway that are run by the upper levels of Amway distributors. I call them the scum at the top. And what they do is they sell things like tickets to meetings, books, recordings, phone apps, website access, voicemail, all these things that are supposed to educate and motivate the downline. And I think the content is reasonable. I don't agree with everything they say, but I'm sure there's not a person on this planet that I agree with everything, so that really is not the issue. And I don't have a problem with people making money. But when they lie by omission, in other words, they give the impression that they're making their lifestyle from Amway, but they're really making most of their money from the Amway Tool Scam, then I have an issue with that. And Amway's not the only MLM that does this. Herbalife does it. I'm sure there's others. Some MLMs prohibit this kind of activity. They even enforce those rules. But Amway, it's totally out of control. I've never seen another MLM where this much of their profit comes from the tools versus from what they're selling, which is, of course, the Amway opportunity. And so I see that as RICO fraud. That's kind of an American term, but it's at least business fraud, right? Because what you're doing is essentially asking other people to join you in a business, and you're showing them the Amway side, but you're not showing them the tool profit side, and that's business fraud, clear cut in my mind. I'm not a lawyer, but I can't think of anything that's more unfair and deceptive, which is the FTC's key words in their law that they enforce. So that's number one, the Amway Tool Scam and other MLMs that have tool scams. And I think that's RICO fraud or business fraud. The other big problem, because there's two of them that I see, is the lack of retail sales. And what we're talking about there with retail sales is, are you selling the product or service to people who are not part of the MLM compensation plan? If you are not doing that, or if it's very unusual to do that, then that's an illegal pyramid. And that's pretty well settled in the United States. And why the FTC doesn't go after more MLMs based on that singular notion, I don't know. It's befuddling to me why they have to spend 3 years looking at an individual MLM and they can't put out guidance as far as what the required retail sales level should be, because they do have two settlements, like you mentioned earlier, Peter. Back in 2016, both Vima and Herbalife settled with the FTC. There was a settlement that did not go to trial, and basically both companies said, we will sell at least half of our stuff to customers. And so if every single distributor, and of course not every distributor is going to do this, but if most distributors sell as much as they use in their own personal household to customers, then you'll meet that 50%. And it should be considered a minimum. You know, there's no reason why you have to stop at 50%. You can go to 75 or 80, whatever. But I think that's a very low bar. It's hard for anyone to complain, gee, that's too many retail sales. You know, there's only 8 billion people on the planet. How could I possibly sell to customers as much as I use in my own household? That's a joke, by the way. I know satire doesn't come across really well sometimes. But anyway, that's the two biggies that I see with MLM. And our guest today, his name is Danny DeHeck, and I'll let him introduce himself as far as his background and how he got involved in what he does with MLMs. And I think, Danny, I've seen a lot of your content directed towards Ponzi schemes, and particularly crypto Ponzi schemes, and that's something that we talk about on this show from time to time as well. But I want to welcome Danny to the show from down under in New Zealand. We've had guests from Australia and, let's say, Thailand, Europe, Iraq, I think. But this is the first guest from New Zealand. So, Danny, welcome to the show, and go right ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks very much. It's a great introduction, not just to me, but to the show. The background's fantastic. Thanks for your hard work. Where to begin? Well, I could go on for ages, but I just have a real passion for going after these people that are promoting Ponzi schemes to mum and dad investors who don't know one end of the computer from the other. So it always amazes me that that their audience, their target audience, is so unaware of what crypto is all about. They have no idea what they're getting involved in, but they sell the passive income dream. I just got sick of listening to people peddling a bunch of lies to, potentially mum and dad investors. So I've sort of stuck my neck out here and started exposing them. And I think you guys mentioned no one's really closing these companies down, and it's actually alarming how they just get away with it. So I'm a bit of a vigilante and very much an activist as exposing these people one-on-one. I get right up in their faces and make them accountable and embarrass them as much as I can, just to create public awareness. I think that's our only answer at the moment.
And Danny, you have a nickname from the New York Times, right?
People think I made that name up, but I was privileged to get given it, yes. The Crypto Ponzi Scheme Avenger, here to name and shame anyone running or promoting a Ponzi scheme or a scam. That's my tagline, as they say. But do you know why they did an article about me rather than about Ponzi schemes?
I could guess, but go right ahead.
Yeah, they wanted to go after one that was going down at the time called Hyperverse, but they were so scared that if they went after the marketers that they would get sued. So then the reporter said, I might have an angle. We'll do a story on you instead. So I said, whatever works. But they did mention a couple of the scams that were reporting at the time in the article. But that's it. They're just so worried they're going to get sued by defamation that they don't stick their neck out and go after these guys.
And that was the reporter that told you that?
Yeah. And since the article, I've been reached out to by, a couple of whistleblower companies. They want to go after the scammers because they're hoping to get money recovery or crypto recovery, and they get 30% if the RSI. Am I saying that right? I think I am. They get 30% of the recovered money. So there's a lot of whistleblower companies that said, oh, look, you help us bust these guys and we'll share the loot that we get back if we get it back. And that didn't really sit too well with me, but it was interesting going through some of the processes that they use. They'll have a team of 25 lawyers going after a few people hoping to recover the money. But that was often you can't find the money because it's very hidden deep into crypto wallets that you can't track or trace. But and then I did get a couple of government organisations that wanted some intel off us, and I still try to do that every now and again. But I just see these guys getting away with it. Even in New Zealand, we've gone after our financial regulators here, and I rang them up the other day because I was so frustrated with something. They said, I just said, hello. And they said, is that Danny DeHeck? And I went, yes. How did you know that? I thought, wow, that's high tech. They said, oh, no, we recognise your voice. We watch your videos. I said, why don't you contact me asking for information about these people that are in New Zealand? But unless it affects the country's economy, they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to do anything about it.
We'll be right back.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Don't go to sleep on me. That's an elephant. I don't know why, but I like elephants. I think it's because my mum said no one's talking about the elephant in the room. I hope you're enjoying the podcast and you don't want to or even think about changing the record. I've got some really cool sound effects and I just had to find a place to use them. I can do explosions. I've even got a gunshot and a boom. Isn't that quite cool? Anyway, I just wanted to wake you up. Wake up and we'll get into it. And by the way, just grab a drink. I'm going to grab a glass of champagne. Let's carry on. That's good. All right. Grab a coffee if you like one as well.
Well, you're welcome to send in any of those people that are looking to make 30% to me. Now, I'm not a crypto expert, but certainly if it's an MLM, I would be very open to hearing, somebody that wants to go after that kind of a company, because that's where I'm focused on. So I don't know if any of those companies that they're going after are MLMs or are they mostly crypto Ponzi's?
Well, there's the MLM component, is actually behind all of them. And that's the part that's really alarming. One of the ones that I've been tracking for the last 8 months of my life that I'll never get back is one called Boomerang. And they're claiming that they've got arbitrage trading available where you can basically trade between one decentralized exchange and another and make a profit. However, just the other day, after tracking this thing for, I think it's only 6 months, I found out that the multi-level marketers behind it are getting 65% of the licenses that they're selling to people who think they're going to be able to do this arbitrage trading. And I just couldn't, none of us, I've got a team of people behind me called the Avengers who help gather information. We just couldn't comprehend that somebody would get 65% of a $10,000 license. You buy it, and the person that referred you to it with the affiliate platform behind it takes 65% of the money because everyone wants a refund because they haven't been able to deliver this fake product. So now they don't know how the refunds would work because 65% of it's already been paid out to the person that sold it. It's just incredible. You know?
So
yeah,
Danny,
that's quite a market.
Let me interrupt, Danny.
Go ahead, Peter.
For just one
Sure.
second, because I know our Building Fortunes radio listening audience, they might be familiar with traditional product MLMs like vitamins and supplements and other things like that. So let's just kind of unpack this. First, I want to give people Danny's website. His last name is Dehek. It's spelled D-E-H-E-K, and he's got a website by thatname.com. So it's DEHEK.com. And you'll see he's been at this for a while. So Danny's probably one of those experts in that cryptocurrency field. So let's talk a little bit about arbitrage real quick. And the reason why I mention this is because in many scams, there's a hint of truth. So with cryptocurrency, if you can buy Bitcoin, and I might mess up my example because I'm just thinking it up out loud, but if you can buy Bitcoin from one place for $60,000, but you can sell it at another place for $61,000, you would think that retail profit would be $1,000. I could buy it here for $60, sell it there for $61, have some fees associated with it, and then, of course, whatever's left is mine. And just like with, network marketing, you buy a product at wholesale, you buy a can of your jungle juice at, $10 or $30. We'll use 30 because that's probably more applicable. And then if you could sell it for 45, that spread would be your retail profit. In reference to what we're referencing with what Danny is talking about, that's what they call arbitrage. You can buy a certain cryptocurrency, whether it's Dogecoin, whether it's Shiba Inu, whether it's some other one, it doesn't matter which one it might be. But if you buy it over here for a lower price, then you can sell it over there for a higher price. What's left is yours. And there's these people that sell this software that either send out these signals, so they give you these knowledge of this is the one you should buy, or they have these trading platforms, supposedly, and that's what you'd be spending that $10,000 for. You'd buy a license to this software that allows you to do this wonderful thing called arbitrage, and it sounds great. By the way, FTX, the guy Sam Bankman-Fried, started his business based on arbitrage. When he built a whole multi-billion-dollar scam. He's going to jail for a million billion years if they have it their way with him. But the reality is this is what we're referencing. So I just wanted to kind of not lose some of our customers, Danny, and kind of explain that. And you can clarify anything that I might have gotten wrong. But for those people that are listening in, when they sell the license for the software for $10,000, what Danny is referencing is whoever sells it gets $6,500. And then they're supposed to get this license to this software where they can throw in, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million of their own money and arbitrage their way into riches. And that's what companies like Hyperverse and that Hyper thing, man, they must have had about 20 different names for that same thing as they were trying to morph that thing into whatever they were trying to morph that thing into.
Oh,
and you go to behind
you want me to give you a list of them?
Yeah, sure. But that's what we're referencing, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
No, you did correct. Actually. Hyperverse started off as Hypertech, Hyperfund, Hypercapital, Hyperverse, Hibernation, Hyperplanet, Hypercosmos, and then Hyperdiversal. So they rebranded themselves that many times within about 12 months. So absolutely just incredible for people to actually comprehend that. But that's what they did.
So what's
everything
the downside?
hyperactive, huh?
Yeah.
I said everything
So
except hyperactive.
Yeah. So what's the downside? So give us the horror story, Danny, of what a typical person might have lost.
Well, I had one guy who did ring me up telling me that he lost $5 million. I did say $5 million. And I said, first thing I say is, where'd you get the money from? And he goes, oh, it's family money. 113 members of my family put together $5 million, thinking that they were going to get 3 times their return in their investment in 600 days. And I said, so you thought you could put $5 million into a platform and get 15 million out? And he said, yes. I said, what gave you the idea that that would be possible? He said he used to work on Wall Street and he's used to seeing numbers and he knows how these things work. And so that's why the family entrusted him with the purse strings. The family was going after him, trying to get him to sell his house because they realized they'd lost the money. He'd only ever got, I think, about $1,600 out of his $5 million investment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did he lose that money? He bought this license, and then when he was basically trading, he put $5 million in his account, and then for whatever happened, it just disappeared. Is that kind of like the way it went?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and then they basically never closed the project. Even right up to the very end, you could still put money into the platform. So it's a one-way street. If they admits that they once they tried to pull the smart contract that they had, claiming that, and then Sam Lee, a guy that's been charged in America for his connection to this Ponzi scheme, they reckon it's worth $1.9 billion. I personally believe it's worth $4 billion. Because the minimum investment was $300, and I've had numerous claims that they had 1.5 million people invested in it. So that's 4 million. I reckon they had 1,500 people involved in it. 1.5 million people involved in it that were just hoping to get rich quick. And then they said there was 400,000 people that were actively promoting it, the multi-level marketers. So it's, if you just do the maths on that alone, it doesn't add up, to 1.9 billion, but that's all they can track, so they reckon. And it all come from Australia as well. Yeah.
So
the real money is in selling the licenses, not the arbitrage, right?
Well, I've only got the pitch deck of the company because I've only got like 7,500 subscribers on my YouTube channel, but I've got a very strong team of people that are passionate helping me. So we get privy to a lot of information that we don't normally. We get links to secret meetings. Just yesterday I went into a meeting where they were setting up a brand new scam and they were talking about the left leg and the right leg and the binary, and they were saying that the organization that wants them to promote the next opportunity is pre-funding wallets with $100,000 on the left leg. And then they were basically saying they're going to throw money at these people if they just promote this product to their communities. And as soon as anyone in the community would sign up, instantly they'll get money. They wouldn't have to go to that hard work of building up their business, as they like to call it. So, and I just, every now and again, I just stumble across something new. It's like with the arbitrage thing at the moment, everyone's going to be offering arbitrage trading. And in their pitch deck here, this is what it reads. And I'm very dyslexic. I literally cannot read and write. I've got a reading level of a 9-year-old, but every now and again, I'll give it a go and embarrass myself. So they say arbitrage involves exploiting price differences of the same asset in different markets or on different platforms. And they say, for example, if an asset is priced lower on one exchange and higher on another exchange, trades can buy the asset on one cheaper platform and then sell it on a more expensive one, profiting from the price difference. So that's what they're alleging they're doing. So this particular company has set up a website, and they've called it Boomerang. My colleagues, we've gone into the website and we've looked at it and thought, we can see the transactions on the blockchain. And they borrow, so if you buy a license for $10,000, they would tell you that we'll give you $3 million worth of flash loan money. And this flash loan money, you can borrow it to trade on the market. But if you buy the license now, we'll give you $50,000 worth of flash loan money to play with in the demo that we've set up. So you go along, and the purpose of the demo is so that you can show your friends and family how it works. So you go in there and you put $100 down, and you'll get paid, normally in it from $1 to $3. But the $100 you put down isn't your money. That's the borrowed money from the flash loan company called Amway. So you work like a beaver. You go through and you spend all your $50,000 worth of flash loan money, and the most we've ever heard of anyone making is $800. So then we thought, okay, so it's kind of working. But then we got a little bit more inquisitive, and we went through and started looking at the website code. And they have these things called market opportunities, where you can actually see the money that's available for these to do arbitrage trading. And we found the code that generated the fake arbitrage trading market opportunities. And then we thought, well, that was good. And then I wonder if there's any other code in this website. And then we found out the code that actually was working out how much money someone would get out. So if you come along and you basically say, I'm going to put $100 on this exchange and that exchange, it would say, well, if you put $100, we're going to let you make 1.3% interest. And then we found the code. That was a line of code in their website that was 250,000 characters, 35,000 words. And we could actually predict how much money people would make when they went into this arbitrage trading. No matter what they did, we could tell them what the results are going to be, like a fortune teller. Once we aired that, they took the code out of their website, closed the website down, and now they've been stringing this along for the last 3 months, telling people they're still selling licenses. The demos that they're showing people are all recordings, and people are still buying up. We've watched, sit down when I say this, $140 million have gone into this platform since December, and no arbitrage trading has happened at all. And 65% of that money would have been paid out to the multi-level marketers. Any questions?
No. So the reality is I run a business, and we deal with computers all the time. And a lot of people don't realize that it's the people that are running the computers that could make the magic happen. And that's what these guys are doing. They're making the magic happen on the computer screen, but it's really all code. And what you guys did was you uncovered the code that they didn't hide. They should have hid it before. They didn't hide it, so they're a little bit sloppy, which most of these guys are. And as a result of that, they were able to fake people. Every time you say demo, you say it the way you say it. I'm not sure if our American English people, because you say something like demo or something like that. I don't know. But they give you this demo software where it's like you can fake trade, and you think you're doing something just to kind of try it out. But the reality is that there's no trading being done. It's all being done with computer coding and stuff like that. There's no real arbitrage. So therefore, what they're doing is they're basically collecting these licenses. They're showing people how they're making money, quote unquote, up on paper. And there's enough people that are not smart enough to be able to find that these guys are scamming them, where they're perpetuating this over and over and over again. And you're hot on their trail. And because you're hot on their trail, they're just kind of like, they're seeing how long they can just stay a couple of steps ahead of you and people like you, but they keep scamming more and more and more people. And that's a shame. And by the way, arbitrage is real. Like, there's people that make serious money, and they do arbitrage with currencies. That's where the Forex trade comes in. You know, if there's the dollar is over here, peso is over here, the euro is over there, some other currency is over there. There's ways to be able to buy and sell currency and basically play with the differences in the prices. Happens all the time. So there's truth to a little bit of this, but it's the guys with the computer code that are basically like smoke and mirrors, just like OneCoin was doing, the cryptocurrency that you were probably familiar with a long time ago as well.
Well, funny enough, most of the people in OneCoin are promoting these other opportunities we go after. They're all, I go into an opportunity, you just call everything a scam. And I go, yeah, but I can see who's running it. And I know they're scammers. And they've got a whole history of it. These guys just do it continually. And they're all, unfortunately, they're all multi-level marketers. That's all they're going up. They don't care if the product's real or not. With just this arbitrage trading one, we actually could see every line of code on the blockchain. And they keep saying, the blockchain doesn't lie. And then we started going through each line of code, and they were borrowing the money. They were trading from one platform to another, and then they were making a loss every single time. And no one was talking about the elephant in the room. So then we found the super wallet that was topping up the payments they were paying people. And when that ran dry, no one was getting up. The system went down, and they said, we're just doing maintenance. And so then myself and the Avengers went in there and we topped up their wallets for them. And then we told people the arbitrage trading will start again. And it did. And then you got people going into Zoom meetings going, hey, these Avengers have, managed to get going again. And it was, we've known about this from day one. They just come up with lies, and they just, every day they come out with new stuff that we, you just can't keep up with. It's just, at the end of the day, they just haven't been able to launch this product for 100 days, but they're still happy to take the money from people who are signing up for it.
Yeah, and the internet, is a perfect platform because they have a reach to everybody on the planet potentially, and they don't need most people to take them up on the deal. They just need a very small percentage, and because of that, they can make money, and it's easy for them to change platforms. And so it's easy for them, like Peter was saying, staying one or two steps ahead. And all you can do really is, I don't know if you're familiar with the term whack-a-mole in New Zealand. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, that's my life, mate.
Okay.
This is what we do. I've been up.
But that's what it reminds me of, is whack-a-mole. You whack it, and it pops up somewhere else. And it would be nice, because we've said this many times on this show. We're going to be 9 years, Peter, coming in September. And we've said this many times. There's not that many people out there that are scamming people. What they do is they just move around. And if the governments would just get serious and nail even a few of these people, it would send a message out there not to do this, because there will be consequences. But the governments don't do it, and so these people hop around and keep scamming people. It really is a shame that the governments are so incompetent that they can't get their act together and really prosecute these people. And I'm not talking about, the FTC and the SEC with their civil lawsuits. That's good. I'm talking about Department of Justice, right? Put these people in prison for a lot of time, and that's what's going to get their attention. And they need to do that, because, what you're doing, Danny, is admirable. But there's just these people out there that just keep hopping around, popping up on a different hole in the whack-a-mole game. And it's hard to catch them because you don't have any legal authority as far as that goes. But I do applaud what you're doing, because it's something that more people need to do. I think that's another thing. If more people were doing what you're doing, that would help as well. It would send a clearer message, to these scam artists, that they can't hide, that they're going to be found so quickly before they make their first dime. They need to go do something that's legitimate. So anyway, that's my little soapbox speech.
Yeah, they actually have arrested one guy in connection with Hyperverse, and that was a guy that goes by the name of Rodney Burton. His name is his AKA name is Bitcoin Rodney. But you get 5 years in prison. That's it. If you're running a scam like this, so if you get done for recklessly promoting a Ponzi scheme without, they've done him on three things, and they're going after him for being a drug trafficker, money laundering, and then the third one is meant to be, a hyperverse scam. And I've provided them video evidence of him doing the crime. My Avengers, I said, look, I've been contacted by what I call the Men in Black. They need evidence of him doing the crime. So anyone got any videos? And we found one video that just fully condemned him. And they said, we might not need it because we're doing them for drug trafficking. And I said, oh, right. So I said, what about, how did you, it's a long-winded story and I won't tell it all. Two reasons, I can't tell it all. And he was on his way to Dubai, this guy. He lived in what looked like a 50-story building. He had his, I think it was a Rolls Royce and his Lamborghini in his lounge, had a lift for it. And he was selling his assets, his cars, his vehicles to government agents. And then he had a one-way ticket to Dubai, and they arrested him in the departure lounge. That's how close they got. But they had to do it pretty hurriedly before he went to do it. Because once you go to Dubai, you can do what you like. It's all good. You're free. Dubai people don't really care about scams, even though they don't like the word scam in their advertising. You can just live there as a scammer all your life. But then there was another lady as well.
You're right. Dubai is a haven for these people because Dubai does not have extradition treaties, I think, with any country. I'm not sure. I know they don't with the United States. And that's where people go because there's no extradition treaties to go after them. Now, if Mr. Madoff was still around, he would tell you that when the Department of Justice does go after these people, they can give them more than 5 years. I think his sentence was 150. Of course, he ran out of life before he ran out of those years. But, 5 years is definitely not enough. That's something that a lot of people would be willing to take a chance for. If it was 150, that might get you thinking again. So go right ahead, Danny.
Have you watched VidCon on Netflix?
I have not.
It's quite good. It's quite realistic. The guy was making so much money, he didn't know what to do with it. Basically, he was making like $500,000 a day at some stage, but he got off scot-free. And so did, there's another lady called Bitcoin Beauty, and she was trying to help the Men in Black by trying to entrap this guy who theoretically started Hyperverse called Sam Lee. And all of a sudden, they reintroduced him to the community and basically said, he hasn't taken off all the money. In fact, he's got a story behind it, and they're trying to say that he could potentially get people's money back. So now she's pleaded guilty to this, her connection to the $1.9 billion scam with a B, but she hasn't been sentenced yet. No, it was sentenced about 5 weeks ago, but I've never heard anyone come out with what actually has happened to her. But I believe she's going to walk free, very similar to the VidCon episode, because she's tried to provide evidence. And this lady is meant to have brought in, wait for it, $640 million for Hyperverse. But in the court documents, she claims that she's only made $3 million from her involvement in this scam. And she was the head lady. Was this in the New Zealand
court that you're talking about?
No, your court.
In the United States? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this, Peter. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but now often when the United States Department of Justice goes after an organization, they're really aiming for the top person. And so they'll take lower levels of people and make deals with them and say, hey, if you give us, information where we can go after the top guy, we'll cut you a deal. We might let you go completely. We might slap you on the hand. We might, put you into hiding so that people who don't like you can't find you. All those kinds of things go on. So, we don't know exactly what happened to her as far as, cutting deals with the government, because that's the nature of the beast, right? You don't know the details because, they have to be able to hide her. So there's no way you can disclose everything about it. The next thing you'll know is if they do catch the top guy, then you'll know pretty sure, yes, she did provide the information needed to nail the top guy. But that's a typical approach that they take as far as going after one of these organizations. Is the real target is the top person. And
I think that's where they go wrong.
That deals with everybody else. Yeah, go right ahead.
This is like fighting the cartel. I believe there's an organization behind all these scams that I'm busting called Hypertech Group. And I've even got like historical website graphs of how it's structured. And then they have these, what I call mules, the top guys that claim to be the top guys. I just don't see that. You know, like one of the top guys claims he had 1,000 staff, all based out of China, and they were running and promoting. And you know how I read off all those names before. There's also another company called WeWe Global, the Blockchain Era, VidiLook, Stable Deo, Stable Opinion, Make More Money, MMM, VAV. These are all we found them all operating out of the same building in Dubai. And I've got a guy who now lives in Dubai who was working in that building for 5 months. And how we found that out is we were watching Zoom meetings and they had the same wallpaper in the back. So I took a screenshot and sent it to this guy. And I said, is Diversal working out of the same building? He goes, yeah. You know, and, you know, it's just, then we started linking all the blockchain transactions together, all the crypto wallets. And we can see one scam that fell over a year ago, topping up the wallets of this one that we're currently busting. And you watch the money. And then we see the money, what I call, they put it into like blocks of gold and of gold bars and transfer them from one exchange to the other, making it very, very hard. And then we're just seeing it all linking together because we've been tracking all these addresses and tagging them, and we'll find key people. You know, and it's just like working for the cartel. So I don't believe for a second that there's one person behind it. But talking to the men in black, that's what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to provide a one-pager with who's got the money, where the money is, and who's involved without it being too complicated. They said because whenever they hear the word Ponzi scheme, they just glaze over. This is what the guy told me. And he said, so you've got to put a really simple case together. And this is not simple. And he said because they're not interested in doing the Ponzi schemes busting, they'd rather go over something with like the romance scams. You know, there's also other things behind these scams. There's human trafficking. Now I got reached by an organisation. They showed me probably about 300 videos of people being beaten up in these human compounds. And they reached out to me because one of the guys that involved one of these Ponzi schemes is heavily connected. His friends got a compound where they human traffic people. So then you start to think, oh, this is bigger than one person. This is actually a whole syndicate. This is just like the cartel with their drugs and their cocaine runs. But this is crypto-based money laundering, massive style, and no one wants to do anything about it because it's too complicated. It's crypto. It's deregulated. It's not in one country. It's all around the world. And then the multi-level marketers, they're just the sales people. That's what their role is. But it's just breathtaking when you try to unravel this as one person with no money, trying to figure out how can we make a difference here? How can we slow these guys down? You know,
right.
No one cares.
Well, if I can jump in for a second, with OneCoin and a lot of the other cryptocurrencies, what a lot of people don't realize is that the MLMers are almost like the front for the whole money laundering thing. So, and the typical MLMer doesn't realize they're being used or they're whatever. They're just kind of, how would I say, useful idiots. So it's almost as if, exactly. So I'm going to kind of use as an example, you know, Italian mafia kind of thing. You know, on The Sopranos, Tony Soprano owns a bar called Bada Bing. And Bada Bing is where, you know, the money is being laundered. Or maybe somebody owns a beauty salon, and the beauty salon is the business through which the money is laundered. A lot of these cryptocurrency places are run by complete idiots, and meaning they think they're badasses, and then what happens is organized crime gets in, And then organized crime just basically says, I'm going to take over your bar, or I'm going to take over your beauty salon, using the examples there, but really the cryptocurrency, and we're going to use this for money laundering and any other laundering we need. And that's probably what happened with OneCoin, might have happened with some of these other ones, and really gives credibility to the statement that you made a little bit earlier about human trafficking and sex trafficking and sincere money laundering. And you wonder how can something like this get to be 1.9 billion? Well, the answer is probably far more than that under the table, because you don't see all of the money being laundered all over the place by these organized crime. And I don't know what you know about OneCoin, but I should probably ask, are you familiar with OneCoin, and were you doing research on OneCoin at all? And what can you tell us about what you think or know about OneCoin?
I know nothing about OneCoin really. However, the people I'm researching, when I go all the way back, it goes back to OneCoin. And that blows me away. And I go, oh, they're all involved. I've got photos of people that I'm busting today with their arms around the guy in OneCoin and the girl. I've got people that, still I've got photos. I've been out for dinner with that lady. You know, what's it called? The crypto queen.
Dr. Ruja. Ruja Ignatova.
Yes, that's the name.
Who's either alive or dead, one way or another. Who knows?
Oh, they got a husband the other day, so, you know. But, you know, like, even though this is massive and a lot of money, I've got a database currently of 164 people. And if I was brought in to any government organisation and said, let me show you what I have, let me show you who's the who. You know, I could actually say, well, we have to change something here. I'm on the phone to Canada this morning. A guy's gone quiet for 2 years, and I just decided to ring him up and ask him a few questions. And he's rampant at promoting another thing I've never heard of. And there's these little wee rats that are right now on a Zoom meeting. I mean, I just want to say something quite simple. If we wanted to stop this today, police Binance, because Binance is where we lose touch with what's going on. Binance is handling the money. So they're the cartel, in my opinion. Then you've got Zoom, who's allowing people to broadcast their meetings over Zoom. No one else. You know, Google Meets, you'll get kicked out of there. But Zoom is facilitating the bank robbers. And this is how they promote themselves. I got banned on Zoom because one of the scammers had a pay slip, and one of my Avengers got it. He earns $738.60 a fortnight. He's on the dole, and he's telling people that he's doing arbitrage trading and making $350 an hour. And because I shared his payslip, I broke their privacy, and they cut me out of Zoom. I can't get back on there. I do, but I won't tell you how. In the meantime, if you go into Section 8 of Zoom's terms and conditions, it says you're not allowed to promote multi-level marketing. So after that happened to me, we went and we shut down over 100 meetings of the same organisation. And now they just ignore us.
Can I ask you to repeat that one more time? Because I heard you say that, but every network marketing company that I know uses Zoom. So say, where would we find that clause?
Section 8 in Zoom's terms and conditions, that you're not allowed to use Zoom to promote multi-level marketing.
That's insane.
And I've got a folder with documents. I mean, I'll tell you another funny one. I've got a disgraced judge. Her name's Grace Zumba. She was on Eyewitness News in America, and she's been publicly reprimanded. She is running the Zoom meetings for this boomerang thing I was talking about. And I've got on a one-on-one Zoom with her. Well, when I say one-on-one, I talk directly to her. And I said the state of California has sent out a cease and desist for We Are All Satoshi, which is the boomerang. And they say, this is something you're not allowed to promote. And she ignores me. And I'm saying, do you not care that the state of California has issued a cease and desist, you know, and she just ignores me. And every day, I literally get up at 5:30 in the morning, and I broadcast at 6 a.m. New Zealand time, and the same lady is running it, and she's had 1,800 cases stripped from her because of her negligence, let's just say that. And she's been, you know, it's all over the papers. And we've got to, you know, and you think, you can't make this stuff up. But in saying that, she's running the Zoom meetings. So we go deeper. We go to Zoom. Look who's running this Zoom meeting. You've given them a webinar account, which is a couple $100 a month. They get 1,000 people in these Zoom meetings, and no one's stopping her. And she's a disgraced judge. Here's a PDF file with everything about her. Here's a file about Sam Lee, who started the company, the founder of the company, who's been charged by America for his connection to a $1.9 billion scam, and you're still providing access to these guys? And why doesn't Zoom come to me and my Avengers and say, hey, I gave them 50 links to Zoom meetings that were running Ponzi schemes and scams and multi-level marketing, and we shut down about 100 meetings, but I can still go into these people's meetings and light them up and see them in there preaching their gospel, their cult-like Ponzi schemes. And I think, well, why can't we just get Zoom to do something? So all the reporters that reach out to me, I'm always saying to them, go after Zoom, go after YouTube. They restream their content onto YouTube. If I was a musician, I had copyrighted music that would be picked up in 30 seconds. But they must be making money out of this. They must be part of the gig.
Yeah, I think you answered the question there, Danny. The reason Zoom doesn't do anything is because they're making a couple $100 a month from these people, and of course that's just one. There's many people doing that. So yeah, Zoom's making a lot of money by just looking the other way in their rules. I mean, Amway does the same thing. They have rules about retail sales, and they ignore them. So that goes on all over the place, unfortunately. But I think it's great to bring attention to that, to let people know that this is not consistent with Zoom's rules. And the more people are aware of that and the more people are repeating that, the better off it's going to be. So it's great to have you on the show to be able to amplify your voice a little bit more and have a different set of people maybe hear this for the first time. So it's a great thing.
Yep.
Now,
so let me just jump in.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Peter.
Let me just jump in for those people that are maybe new. We're talking to Danny DeHeck. He's got a website, DEHEK.com. He's got a YouTube channel as well. You can go over there and check it out. And when you go if you go to DeHeck.com, click on podcasts, you can see some of the podcasts that he's done. We'll let him talk about anything else he's got going on. He's a real good guy. But I have a question for you, Danny. Relative to cryptocurrency, I'm going to separate you from the anti-MLM critics and idiots. I did not hear you once say cryptocurrency is bad. I've heard you say scamming using cryptocurrency is bad and scammers use cryptocurrency, but I did not hear you once say cryptocurrency itself is bad. Matter of fact, I heard you. It seems like you have knowledge. You have knowledge of this stuff because you understand how blockchains work. You understand how to take a look at chain analysis on blockchains and stuff along that line. Websites work. You can go check out with your Avengers different things. So, are you anti-cryptocurrency, or are you anti-people that use cryptocurrency for Ponzi schemes?
I tell people, they go, how can you work out something's a scam? And I go, there's three things. If it involves cryptocurrency, that's a red flag. And I literally have a red flag I normally wave about now. And the second thing, if you sign up for this platform, does it have an affiliate system or does it have a multi-level reward structure? That's the second red flag. And the third one is, does it sound too good to be true? Use your head. Now, why I say crypto, because crypto does make it easy for people to buy these platform memberships. And it's a payment gateway. And that's it. And crypto is fascinating. I love technology. I'm very dyslexic. I use ChatGPT like it's part of my body. And, I literally cannot read and write. I've got a read and write level 9-year-old. I select words, I listen to them, I comprehend them if I read them. I've never read a book in my life. So anything to do with technology and gizmos and, I like. I don't have a lot of crypto myself. I've been donated money in crypto. So I've put that into, I'm talking maybe $300-400. And it's gone up to $1,200 at one stage. It's down to about $700 at the moment. And I can get the excitement of crypto, and you can make money on crypto. Shimu Inu, I think I put $200 in, it got up to $1,200. But people tell me that these platforms, just a way of people making money, it's the same as crypto. And they use all the crypto terminology when selling a platform that's a Ponzi scheme. And I go, hold on a minute. This is not crypto. This is a Ponzi scheme. You're just using crypto to buy it, and you're using all the terminology. I've learned a lot. And I've read a whole lot of stuff that I can't remember. But, yeah, it's just a payment gateway. But crypto doesn't guarantee that when you buy a Bitcoin, when you buy a token, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get 3 times your return on your investment when you buy that token. But these guys that sell these platforms say that if you give me your USDT within a certain period of time, we're going to give you 1.5 back per day. We're going to drip feed your own money back to you in a token that's worthless, that's going to be worth something one day. These are, I don't know if I'm explaining myself right, but no, in short, nothing against crypto as such. I think it's quite fun. And it's been interesting watching that grow, but it's just a payment gateway. And it's unregulated. And the first thing everyone does when they lose their money, they want to go to the policeman, and they want to hire a lawyer, and they want to use regulated people to try and get their unregulated currency back that they've invested in. And it is hard to listen to sometimes. Yeah, but probably one thing I haven't. Yeah, one of the things that I don't tell people too much, the reason why I go after these scammers is I listen to the gaslighting. And I was talking to a guy this morning, and I asked him, I said, "Oh, look, I've just done a search for you on the internet, and I found this." And then I couldn't get a word in edgeway after that. He gaslights me. And they're all professionals. And I was brought up in a religious cult, and I remember listening to the elders and the ministerial servants talk to us. They weren't gaslighting us as such, but we were blinded. It was like, it didn't matter. Whatever they told me, because I was brought up in it, I just believed it was true and genuine. And it was only when I got older I started questioning this. Every time I was in a Zoom meeting today, I was logged into 3 Zoom meetings rebroadcasting someone's scam this morning. As soon as I put my hand up to ask a question, I get kicked out of the room. And it's just a one-way street of advertising. And that's what really gets me going. You can't challenge these guys. You can't use reasoning. If you do, they say you're negative. And it's a lot of NLP training, and they tell you you're just a negative person and you're going to have no friends if you don't just go along with what's happening here. Yeah.
Yeah, I came across the fact that you were raised in a I guess, what would you call it, ultra-conservative religious sect? And which one was it again?
Well, I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, and
yes,
I was in it from 2 years of age. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to know a girl, this is years ago, of course, because I think Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate things, right, like birthdays and holidays.
Oh, you just got to be morbid all your life, really. You do wedding anniversaries. I think we can. Well, I say we. You can celebrate your wedding anniversary if you're brave enough to get married. But other than that, no, nothing. Even like my birthday now, if I don't get, my partner goes, "Oh, we should celebrate your birthday." I say, I just don't really get into it. I'm not really into the birthday thing.
Right. Yeah, I knew a girl. I don't know why I remember her name. Marjorie Markwell was her name. And I grew up in Florida, where Peter is now. I'm in Texas now, but it was always strange, because this was elementary school. I lost track of her after elementary school. Anytime we did anything that was celebratory in school, she would, just leave the room. And it was just weird to me that whenever you celebrate something, she wasn't there, and it was really eye-opening. And it's extremely conservative from that standpoint. Now, with the crypto stuff, were you ever personally involved in a scam, or were you just an observer that started to go after people?
No, yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting story. I've actually got some people listening to me talking. They're chucking things into the chat room. My Avengers actually listened to me. Some of them brought up some points in there which I want to cover. But the thing is, no, I weren't scammed. But when I can say it briefly, but like if you're judged, like being in the religion is you're part of a community. Being part of these Ponzi scheme opportunities, you're part of their community. They call it the hyper community. And when you challenge anything they do, they kick you out of the community. So it's very similar to a religious cult. As soon as you stand up to it, you're out. You're on your own. And I think why I think people are part of these communities is when COVID was happening, our safe haven was Zoom. And there's a lot of sad people in the world, a lot of lonely people. And I had my own social group, and I used to have a lot of people that were suffering with loneliness. And I think even if it's a scam, even if they lose money, they still want to be part of this community that is just everything in life. But, when they get kicked out of these communities, it's detrimental. So with my brief upbringing as a Jehovah's Witness, my sister, who was 2 years older than me, died by suicide. My stepfather also died by suicide because they couldn't live up to the expectation that the religious cult put on them. And that's why I believe they died. When I was in the New York Times and I was doing this Ponzi scheme thing, I had an organization reach out to me and they said they've tracked 11 people who have died by suicide just on one scam. They were painted this passive income opportunity. It didn't eventuate. They borrowed money on their visa, whatever it was, and then they took their own lives. And oh my goodness, that's terrible. And that's kind of what, I see these guys that are running these Ponzi schemes are saying, oh, you just don't understand the model. We're just making money. And I go, but there's another side to it where people are losing money. And there's people out there who believe what people say because it's what we got brought up to do. And it's all trust. And it's just a sham. So I actually go after these people, hammer and tong, and they are literally, how do I say that? They're literally killing people. These people aren't just taking people's money. They're actually, pushing people over the edge. And that's why I'm so strong about it. But the guy that I knew, I used to own a business networking company, and I used to get 150 businesses together each week, and I used to help them network with each other. I love networking. Who do you know? It's not what you know, it's who you know. And then when the landlord, we rent our house. The landlord wanted their house back. We were trying to find somewhere to live, and we couldn't. I'm well connected. I said to a local newspaper, can you help us? They put us on the front page, for goodness sake. Picture of my dog, my partner, her son, and we're looking for a home at the moment. It's very hard to find in the world we live in. Then this guy rang me up, and his name was Kent Berryman, and he said to me, hey, Danny, I hear that you're looking for a house. I've got an opportunity where I'll pick you up on Wednesday night and take you along to this meeting, and if you invest, you can make enough money to buy your own house. And I said, mate, get off my phone, and I won't say what I said. He said, well, how do you know it's a scam? I said, because everything you do, he's involved in Malanuka, he would have been in Amway. Everything you have done in the past is all multi-level marketing. And I said, it's just another scam. I don't even need to look at it. And then when I got home, I looked at it, did a video about it, and that's how I started my YouTube channel, 1,100 videos later. But the guys, so then one day I'm walking down the road and I bump into a lady, and she goes, are you that Danny guy? And I go, oh, yes. And she said, you're Danny DeHick, aren't you? I said, yes. I said, I won't say what connection was, a very close family member. He said, that's, he's my father-in-law. I said it now. And he said, and I went, oh, here we go. And she said, thank you. She said, because those two are just, they're ruining our lives. They're just so money hungry. They're greed. They just want money. And I said, they've been doing it for years. So I just want to thank you for speaking out and trying to expose them for who they really are. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. It was a bit of a relief. But I think there's a certain type of people that get involved in these opportunities, but they're reckless. And I think the detrimental effects they're having on people, they don't care. That's breathtaking to me.
Yeah, all good points. Because, I experienced something with Amway very similar to what you were saying in regard to if you push back in any way, if you don't go with the flow completely, they just kick you out. And I found out back in 2005 that most of the money being made at the upper levels is being made on the tools. And I sent my upline a very simple, straightforward email saying, please take me off of standing order tools, standing orders where they just come in automatically, right? They automatically order them for you. You don't have to order them every week or every month. And, they have your credit card number. And so I took myself off of that program, and I went from, and then we're talking overnight here, from best buddy to complete stranger. It was amazing. Not that I wanted to talk to him, because I just learned I was being ripped off for a dozen years, but it is amazing how if you don't stay in lockstep with the program, you're gone. I mean, it's just that's the way it goes. And I look at it sort of like, they're the body and I'm a cancer to that body, and they have to cut me out or else I'll spread. My knowledge will spread through the body, and they don't want that. They want to cut that out and discard it to protect the rest of the body, which of course they're scamming as well, and preserve their little scam. So it's really interesting, the parallels between, how you were brought up religiously, and then with these crypto things, with MLM, it's all the same thing as far as, that goes. If you don't stay perfect in agreement with everything, you're gone. And that's how they preserve and keep this thing going. And like I mentioned earlier, there's so many people out there. They only need a very small percentage to get involved to keep it going. And that's what they do. They go after that small percentage. Like you say, Danny, it's, the lonely people, the whatever. Now, I was not in that position when I joined Amway, but, it really is something that needs to be looked at a lot more carefully and in more detail by governments. Because you're doing everything you can. We're doing everything we can. But there's only so much we can do. We just don't have the authority to really go after these people like a government can if they would just wake up. So it's just incredible.
It really is. I mean, I went to this in Australia. They have a Senate just like you do in America, and that was discussed on one of their live streams. That they were talking about this Ponzi scheme, and they said to the lady, the chief lady of whatever that department is called in Australia, what have you done about warning people? And said, we put a general warning out about crypto opportunities. And so I wrote to every senator in Australia, and I said, here is Sam Lee, here of video evidence, this, here's documents from America, lawsuits going on, and what are you guys doing about it? And they just said that. I got a couple of replies from 40 people I emailed. They just don't care. Well, I don't know if they don't care. Maybe it's just too complex. But, I'm going, well, cut off the utilities they use. I mean, like I said before, Zoom was an easy target. Why doesn't the newspapers go after Zoom? Because they'll get, like last year, I was in the New Zealand High Court. A scammer that I'd busted decided to go after me for defamation. And he was suing me for $3.8 million in the New Zealand High Court. And an hour and a half before the High Court judge opened the file, we were trying to get him to put $150,000 in a fund for security for costs. They filed a discontinuance. But that cost me $36,000. I had the best lawyers in New Zealand. I literally did. They're $800 an hour lawyers were working on government money at $200 an hour, and we would have mortified them in the courtroom. Literally would have been just a field day. It would have, if I had money, I would have backed off because I could have lost everything. But long story short, they filed a discontinuance. 2 months later, they basically said, well, Danny, we think that you spent too much time and money defending yourself for a $3.8 million lawsuit. We're only going to award you $27,500 worth of that money, and you can pay for the rest for yourself, because this is how it works in New Zealand when you've got no money. But everyone's entitled to a fair trial. So then the $27,000 we got awarded, they wanted to get the scammer to pay that. So they contacted me and asked me for his address to send the bill to. And I go, are you kidding me? You mean somebody can drag somebody through the New Zealand High Court and you don't even know where they live or who they are? And he's a scammer that's stolen millions of dollars from people and they're just throwing their money around. And that kind of sums it up, really, when it comes to, you really are on your own. And it's breathtaking. But it's just, that's the world we live in. No one really knows how to handle this. And the law system, the court system's absolutely pathetic about it. I just don't know where to turn. So I just do this, public awareness thing, really. And, I said to a reporter the other day, rather than reporting the news at the bottom of the cliff, why don't you get up to the top of the cliff and I'll give you all the names of the people that have thrown people off the cliff. I said, then, and they said, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, I spoke to one newspaper here in Australia, 14 articles later, they gave me one credit in 14 articles because they said, oh, we won't put your name in there, Danny, because we might get sued. So it's like, okay, but at the end of it, they finished up quoting something I said. The ABC News, obviously the New York Times, the Guardian newspaper, Bloomberg have come to me. A reporter talked to me for 2.5 hours the other day, and she wants to write a story. Now I find out she's just a young journalist trying to write a story, and I said, you will never get the story past your newsreaders, past the editor, because they'll be worried that they're going to get sued. So then we're trapped either way. So what I say to these scammers, they say, one lady's threatened me with big stuff. I've had a few life threats and all that sort of stuff, suppose. Nothing too major that you can take seriously. But I say, I can't stop you, and you can't stop me. So we shut down a Zoom meeting yesterday and today. And that's because my Avengers go in there and we just cause so much havoc that they have no choice to stop. And then we think, well, that's our victory. And that's the only thing we'll do. One guy's been going since 2009 promoting these Ponzi schemes. He's been on my favorite website, which is behindmlm.com. And we're just vigilantes. And the government just sits back and go, oh, no, we're not going to do anything. We go, okay, then we'll just carry on doing what we're doing until the last man standing sort of stuff. It's like the Wild West, this crypto stuff.
Yeah, that's our go-to website too, is behindmlm.com. What do you use for your ID when you're making comments on there, or do you make comments?
On the Zoom meetings?
On the behindmlm.com, do you ever make comments there?
Oh, I do, yeah. And being dyslexic is not a good idea, but I use ChatGPT to write my comments. I say it's Oz, but there's meant to be two people behind that. But I usually call myself the Crypto Ponzi Scheme Avenger.
Okay.
And there's a guy there.
I'll be looking for your comments then.
Well, a company called G99 is going after them at the moment. And my ISP, like when that guy was going after me in the High Court, they did a denial server attack on my website because my website's quite strong. When people search, if I put something in my website, it ranks really well in the search engine. So whenever you search for this guy's name that I was going after, I would own him on the internet. So the same with Behind MLM, we just search people's name, and it's a really good source. But then GS Partners tried to get a blog removed off my website. My ISP said they spent $40,000 trying to get a blog removed from my website. And I said, why didn't you just ask me to take it off? But these guys have got lots of money, and that's what they're doing with Behind MLM, but they were trying to. But it seems like this court threw it out just recently, so he's all right again. But these guys don't have, we don't make money. I make $300 or $400 on my YouTube channel a month if I'm lucky. But I spend 80 hours a week. I get up at 5:30 in the morning, get ready. I'm broadcasting at 6. I go through to, it's 12 o'clock now. I've been going for 6 hours, mate, every day of the week. The last 2 or 3 months, I think I had 1 day off.
Yeah, that's real dedication. You said something else, too, that I relate to very much, and that is, when one of the regulators says that they put out a warning about a particular company or a person or whatever, my question is, what percentage of people actually see that warning? I believe it's a tiny percentage. And when I hear that they put out a warning, to me, it's virtually meaningless. They need to go after them. They don't put out warnings. If they think they're being effective by putting out warnings, they're not. And it's just disappointing that they don't realize most people don't even realize that these agencies exist. And if they do, they don't understand what they're doing. The agency, I mean, they don't know what the purpose of the agency is. So it is a waste to me to put out a warning, because it's just not going to be seen by anything other than a very tiny percentage of people. It's just a shame that these agencies think they're being effective by putting out warnings, because they're not. That's just the bottom line.
You'll love this one. So I don't know the organising exactly. I've just done a speak, but you've got the DFPI, the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation.
Right.
Now, they put out a warning about We Are All Satoshi on their website. It's loaded up for kids viewing only. And it had, when I looked at it originally, it had 54 visits and it had been online for 3 months. It has currently been online for 8 months. It currently has 512 views. I copied the video, remastered it, republished it, and I think I've got about 700 or 800 views. So I've got more traction than. And then they published the PDF file. The only reason that's got out there is because me and my Avengers share it everywhere, and we've copied it, reproduced it, and remarketed it. I mean, why don't these guys come to us and ask for marketing help and getting these warnings out there? The other day I was going after a guy called Jan Gregory, and he's got fined $165,000 by Canadian naughty people. And he's now in front of a Zoom meeting wearing a fake moustache and a fake eyebrows, publishing. I saw him. It's a long story, but saw him on there and I thought, it's not the same guy. Then he spoke, it is him. And here he's trying to hide his identity. And now we go back to the people that fined him in 2022 for $165,000 and go, is he meant to be on the internet promoting security information? Because if he's not meant to be, here's a video of him doing it. I've just rebroadcasted him.
Yeah, you know what? I was just thinking of those 54 views. I'll bet a lot of those views was the actual scam artists themselves. Not concerned citizens, but the scam artists that are finding these things to see what governments are putting out as far as warnings. It's ridiculous, to think that if they think they're doing their job, they're not. Put it that
93
way.
videos. This is what they've got online. The Department of Financial Protection and Innovation has got 93 videos and it's got 812 subscribers. I mean, are you kidding me? They could even buy. They could even pay to publish. They could even pay to promote their videos.
Yep.
But they don't.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just amazing. It really is. It's ridiculous. And I guess we just have to keep doing what we're doing. Now there is a little bit of advantage that we have here in the United States. And I don't know if this is present in New Zealand. It sounds like it's not. That you might want to look into. And these are state laws. There's no national law like this. It's state by state by state. Some states have them, others don't. Some of them are very strong, some of them are very weak. But it's called anti-SLAPP. Have you ever heard of that term?
No, I haven't actually. I should have done.
So what it means is SLAPP means strategic lawsuit against public participation. In other words, these people will sue Oz on behind MLM just because, right? Just because they have money and they're going to try to make them back down. That's a SLAPP lawsuit is. And fortunately, Peter, I think it's pretty strong in Florida. I know here in Texas it's very strong. In some states, it's really directed towards only government suing people. But where the law is strong, it's really anybody. It could be an individual, it could be a company, an organization. If that organization can be shown to be suing only to try to financially intimidate the other side, and there's no legal basis for the lawsuit, then the judge can not only throw the case out of court, but the judge can also tell the person that sued somebody to pay that somebody's legal bills. And so that's a very good deterrence to all these lawsuits flying around. They have to think about, gee, this is really not a real lawsuit. I'm just trying to financially intimidate these people, and maybe I'll think twice because I may have to pay their legal fees. So it is a good thing. It's something you might want to look into. It's called anti-SLAPP, SLAPP. It would be a nice tool for other countries to have this as well, because it does protect. And I think Europe is somewhat like this, where if you sue somebody, like civil lawsuit, and you lose, you have to pay their legal fees. It occurs in the United States somewhat as well. But definitely the anti-SLAPP is a good thing as far as preventing these just crazy lawsuits that have no legal basis. Peter, are you familiar with the Florida law? Is it pretty strong? That's my understanding.
I don't know. I really haven't researched it, so that part I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
but I think you are right.
It was a landmark case, my case here in New Zealand, but and that's what made it unusual. Even got in the Law Society magazine.
So while I was listening to this, Danny, and you were telling me, or you're telling us about how much you put into this, and how much little financial return you get for this, the question would be about your motivation. Like, why do you do this much, and for how long have you been working at this pace?
Well, COVID killed my business. And as I said, I used to get 150 business people together each week and do business meetings, helping them network and work together. And they used to all pay me a monthly fee for doing so, and that's how I used to survive. So then when COVID, we were all on Zoom, and I sound like crap and look like crap on the Zoom meeting, so I decided to get myself a camera because I tried to carry on running my business while we were in lockdown. And then I thought, well, now I can't do my business networking face to face. I'll provide online workshops to help people survive and thrive in business. But I just couldn't get traction doing those, and couldn't make money, and I couldn't get people to actually sit down in front of a camera and do a course. So that morphed into, well, I've got this camera gear, might as well put a few videos out. And then I thought, well, maybe I can make a living out of being a full-time YouTuber. So the last 2 years, I think I'm up to about $8,000. But 30% of that's kept for tax from America because I'm a Kiwi. So it's not going to make me any money. So then I thought, well, I still like the idea of, I'm actually, I don't know how to say it without sounding without stroking my own ego, but I'm actually really good at doing what I do. And I've actually got some amazing intel, which I know that if I was in a courtroom or I was hired by some government organization, or maybe if I was in literally last week, we started putting together a pitch for a Netflix documentary, because with the timelines and the things that we're doing are actually absolutely breathtaking. We are really making a difference. 7,500 subscribers, one YouTuber that needs more sleep than he's getting, and a bunch of probably about 10 Avengers who really feel the same way. And they're literally listening to me talk right now. And I'll tell you, I've got a chat room on YouTube, and my Avengers have just donated me, and this might sound like they've given me a couple of bucks. I've got $7. Now, my Avengers are the only one that really support me financially. Now, $7 is the most money I've made from Super Chats this week. So wow. There's no money in it. So then I have to question the fact, what am I doing this for? Because literally, I've had death threats, and I live in a gated community. I'm a New Zealander, so I'm protected by that. But my Avengers, I've never seen, I've seen a couple of them, but my main ones, I haven't seen their faces. They hide because we're too, we have to hide our identity. And so it's dangerous stuff what we're doing. And if I was a scammer and I was making $140 million in 6 months from selling fake arbitrated licenses, I would think I'd pay somebody off like me to shut me up, because we have cost them millions of dollars. So I think what motivates me, I think I have a fight for justice. I want to make a difference. And if I ever get a payday from this, I'm very entrepreneurial, been working for myself for 30 years, and I believe one day I will have a bit of a payday, but I don't want to be rich. I'm not trying to get rich. I'm just trying to make an honest day's work for, I'm just trying to make a living out of this so I can replace what I lost when I had my normal business. And I enjoy doing it.
So in essence, COVID destroyed what you were working on. It was hard to pivot, which happened to a lot of different people.
Exactly.
And then as a result of that, you said, okay, I'm going to follow this course and see if I could make it. And that course hasn't paid off yet. But the reality is you also got sucked into it because it's such a passionate thing and you hate seeing people getting scammed. Now, that's a very different story from the typical anti-MLM person that would be out there. A lot of the typical anti-MLM influencers or the gurus, they're people that can't exist on their own, don't do businesses on their own, or they have this mental illness, and they just think that they're saving the world in their own mental place by saving the world from anti-MLM stuff or MLM stuff. So most of the times, if you took a look at them, you say, these people are mentally sick, and I hate to sound like Donald Trump, which is probably a little bit triggering for some of those people that might be listening in, but the reality is the typical anti-MLMer is not you. So you're different than the MLM critics out there who basically roll their eyes, raise their hands frantically and say stupid stuff most of the time that they can't really back up, and they just use stupid expressions like endless chain and 5 by 5 by 5 and talk about saturation and things like that that just don't make any sense. And they are, in essence, just like I don't know how to be polite about it, so I won't even say anything. But I'm really happy that you're here, and I'm glad you shared your story, because their story is quite different. I think some of them are just mentally ill, and it's probably better off that they do this so they stay off the streets. So Scott, I'll let you comment on what I just mentioned. I'm sure you probably want to say something.
I just want to agree with you, Peter, that Danny's different, and it's in a good way. We really appreciate having him on the show and telling his story, and I can relate to a lot of it because I do all this because I want to see change as well. I'm not looking to make money. If the opportunity presents itself, I'll take it. And I'm planning on writing at least one book in the future. But again, I'm not in it for the money. If the money comes, fine. If it doesn't, I'm fine too. I was just curious, Danny, do you know the countries that any of your Avengers live in? Do you have any idea about that aspect of it?
Yeah, it's funny. I'd like to think I do, but I probably don't. I mean, the time zones is what gives it away. There's one that's really funny. He's called Bob. He's also called Tugman. Don't ask me why that. And George and Bill. And I don't know his real name. So often when I'm introducing him, I'm Tugman, Bill, Bob, and George. And the other day, he's walking down the road and he's got his camera on. I thought, and we can see his feet. And I'm trying to work out the type of pavement he's walking on. But this guy is just an animal when it goes into Zoom meetings. He's recording everything. We've got video evidence coming out of our ears. And I was watching a meeting today that I was in, and I said, Bob, are you still in here? Next thing, he turns on the microphone of the person that's running the Zoom meeting, and he starts talking. And I go, oh, you are here. But he took control of the sound of the Zoom meeting that we were busting. And my biggest question about is my Avengers is when the heck do they sleep? Because I'm not looking for a sympathy thing here, but I went to bed last night at, I think 11 o'clock, and I got up at 5:30. That would be the most sleep I've had for the last 3 days. I often go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and get up at 5:30, and then I'm chucking water over my face, and I'm trying to get myself in the right frame of mind. And then I look back and I think, when was the last time I had a day off? But I mean, my Avengers are the same. I start my meeting at 6 o'clock in the morning here in New Zealand, and they're popping into the chat room going, "Morning." And I go, "Oh my God, what?" And I have to ask them what drives them as well. Maybe I can ask that in the comments if they can pop up. I think change is the real big thing. I don't even think it's that complicated, guys. I think the governments need to have a backbone. I'm sick of looking for government help. I mean, I literally have 4 phone numbers from the biggest organization. There's an organization in the world, which I won't name, but it's in 5 countries of the world. And I have like the Batman phone here. And if something big goes down, I can contact those guys and say, like the other day, I found $6 million being transferred into a first world country's business. I had a lady from that business who works in there ringing me up, terrified the fact that her bosses are forcing her to put this money through the company. They had fired the chief financial operator of the company because he refused to do it. These people were gathering evidence. I right now can ring up the biggest organization in the world that can do something about that in the UK, America, Canada, Australia, and the Netherlands. They're the 5 countries, right? And I send them a message and say, look, here's something going down. This is how the money's coming into this country. There's a lady, here's a secret video. She didn't know I was recording her. Watch the video. You'll see that she's genuine, real. And I said, and also there's 2 people, the guy that owns the company and a lady who worked for the company. Here they are in a video in Dubai. And this is where the money's coming out of crypto into the real world. And I get thanks for the intel. That's it.
Yeah.
And I go, I won't say what I said because I don't know if this has got a P rating. But and I'm thinking, and they said to me, because I talked to these guys and I said, if we ever have anything go down, you're going to read about it in the newspaper. So it's just like the Men in Black. And I think, if they said to me, I like airplanes. If somebody said to me, look, we want you to come to America or wherever it is and sit here and show us, because we're investigating. What did they do instead? They they got a lady who dragged $640 million out of mum and dad investors, and they got her to try to entrap the guy that's involved with the $1.9 billion scam, and she failed miserably. And then I've got intel from her family telling me what she's done with the money and where the money's gone and what she's, I got another guy that claimed he had stage 4 cancer. And I thought it was an exit strategy. Then I found out he was doing a 60th birthday bash. He lived in a £3 million house in England. I managed to find the address. I put his address on the internet. I had people go around and knock on his door. Then YouTube came along and said, you can't tell people his address. They shut me down. I had his best friends that worked with him for years ringing me up, telling me I'm this, I'm that. I've been talking to the guy on a video and going after me because I was wearing a cheap suit and I wasn't successful because I was poor. And all this sort of stuff going down. Now, that guy did have stage 4 cancer. He died on the 19th of April. He got buried on the 8th of May. And then somebody who was at the funeral rang me up on the way home from the funeral and said, I just did a search about this guy on the internet. His name's Keith Williams. And I said, and your website came up. I can't believe that he's a criminal. And because, and it's like, these guys, you go to these big flash houses, I always like to know what these guys actually really do for a living, because I reckon I'd be able to, it's just so much of it going on, but I think it could be easily stopped. That's probably my point. And they go after you because of your wealth and your status. They go after a demographic of people who are religious, who have a belief in God, and they use the same, be part of a community. And they were in these meetings and they hold their hands together and they're praying. Like I busted one lady, and she saw me in the meeting. So then she decided to have a prayer and pray for me in the meeting. You just can't make this stuff up. But I could talk all day about it, guys. And I do thank you for having me on the show. But if anyone's got any other ideas, please do reach out to me. I mean that.
Yeah, well, thanks, Danny. I try to ask the guests before we end the show, was there anything you were thinking of before the show or you thought of during the show that you wanted to mention that we just haven't gotten to? Is there anything you wanted to say?
Who, me?
Pardon me?
Are you talking about? I thought you were talking about people who are listening in. Are you talking to me?
No, for you, Danny. Was there anything that you wanted to say either before the show or during the show that you thought of that we haven't gotten to?
Yeah. Well, yes, I can think of lots of things, and I think there's some fundamentals that why they get away with it that people may not realize. If I get contacted by people telling me I want to be anonymous, and I go, okay. And they say, I lost my whole superannuation money. I trusted my friend, but my friend also lost his money. So we're in the same boat. And I go, so often you'll hear people go, I lost 5,000. Then the person that introduced it said, well, I lost 50,000. But they don't want to dob people in. So what we're doing at the moment is we're making it so people can dob in their friends that they love and they care about, but keep it anonymous. But we really want to. We often tell people we're creating a massive jigsaw puzzle and we don't know the picture. But every time somebody gives us a little bit of intel, it's another piece in the jigsaw puzzle. And eventually the overall picture is going to be very clear for us. But I think these guys, they get away with it simply because of the community that they're part of. They don't want to dob each other in. So I'm just sort of saying to people, put your big boy or your big girl trousers or skirt on, and start, public awareness is which will win this out. We've got one reporter who's done 14 articles, I mentioned earlier on. She was a bulldog, and any information I would give her, she'd try to get it past the lawyers and get it published. We managed to find a guy that was called Stephen Reese Lewis through her publishing an article, me giving her some intel and all her other efforts, and we managed to find this guy who had been the CEO of the company that had stolen the $1.9 billion. And, basically my Avengers, the people that I'm associated with, are very resourceful, very good at using the internet, and any little bit of information, we do reverse image lookups on people's friends. We find photos of them. We find where they live. We find where they really work. We've got one lady at the moment that's been horrific on the internet promoting these scams. We found out the company she was a partner with. We went to the company and we said, this is the evidence we have. Now she's gone. She's nowhere to be seen on the internet for the last 2 weeks. But we need information. We need intel. And we will do the dirty work. We will put ourselves on the line, but we just need a public awareness. I wish I had 1 million subscribers, but I think if I had 1 million subscribers on my YouTube channel, I'd probably be in all my days in court because they would come after me, So it's a catch-22, really.
Yeah.
Awareness.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, I was just looking online here. It looks like Florida gets a C. There's an A, B, C, D, E grading. So Florida's somewhere in the middle. At least you have some anti-SLAPP law. It would be nice if it was stronger. Texas happens to be dark green, which is good. It's one of a dozen or so states like that, but some states don't have any anti-SLAPP laws. I just wanted to thank Danny for coming on because this has been a terrific show. It's just been eye-opening. We talked before, but this has just opened my eyes even more, and I just appreciate what you and your Avengers are doing, Danny. Let's keep in touch. And, Peter, I'll let you wrap it up, and we'll see you next Saturday.
Sure. So we're going to make sure we set up a guest link for Danny so we can get him some more exposure. So his name is Danny DeHeck. DeHeck is spelled D-E-H-E-K. He's got a domain name by the same. So if you go to DeHeck, DEHEK.com, you'll be able to see what he's been working on. He's got a cool YouTube channel. Lots of really great information on podcasts. Really interesting way of being able to display the information and doing it in a very interesting fashion with his Avengers. So if you go check that out, you can certainly like his videos, comment, reach out to us if you have anything going on. And Danny, I'm sure we are going to stay in touch because there's some unfinished business that I think we might be able to help you with as well. So thanks everybody for being here. Danny, thanks for spending your time on the other side of the world. And for everybody listening in, check out Scott Johnson's pages. Scott, why don't you give out your pages and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, I have everything that I have that comes together on my Facebook page. I've got 3 websites, a YouTube channel, some other videos, my email, my phone number, everything is there. So if you go to facebook.com/Scott Tex Johnson, it's SCOTTTEXJOHNSON, all one word. And that's where all that information is. Again, thank you, Danny, and thanks, Peter. We'll see you in a week.
Perfect.
And I've got to do one last thing.
You've been listening.
Go ahead, Danny. Go ahead.
Sorry. Just my tracker guy. He's here. You hear this? It's a recording. We have it wherever we sound clips, but we do make it fun along the way. It's not all serious business with us, but I really appreciate it, guys. But no, thank you for that. I'll let you finish up. Sorry
You're
about
welcome.
that, mate. Cheers, mate.
That's okay. We'll see you next time, everyone. Thanks.
You've been listening to Building Fortunes Radio on buildingfortunesradio.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check us out every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the designated Building Fortunes Radio segment with Peter Mingils. Be sure to check out the buildingfortunesradio.com website for our featured segments. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world.
You've been listening to Danny the Heck, aka the Crypto Ponzi Scheme Avenger. Thank you for getting to this end of the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to search me out on the internet. Just search for Danny the Heck. You'll find me all over the place. I have an awesome YouTube channel which I do videos every week. So just go to youtube.com/theheck and you'll make my day. Hey, thanks for listening, and please do make sure you subscribe. And any comments, feedback, or suggestions, find my website and send them through. Have a great day.